Hello and good morning friends, welcome to the CEC EduSet live lecture. Dear friends, we are pleased to announce that from today onwards we are starting a very new series, and this series is on new media. This is the first lecture in the series, and today the lecture is on introduction to new media. And for this very discussion on new media, we have with us in our studios Dr. Anubhuti Yadav. Dr. Anubhuti Yadav is the head of Department of New Media and IT in Indian Institute of Mass Communication. Dear friends, we would like to tell you all that Dr. Anubhuti Yadav has immense experience. She is a prolific professor with a huge industrial experience. So we believe that she is the most appropriate person to talk on new media. Without wasting any time, I would like to welcome our guest, Dr. Anubhuti Yadav. Dr. Yadav, welcome to the EduSet lecture.
Thank you very much. And as mentioned that this is the first program in the series of lectures on new media. So the first thing which we are going to do today is I'll tell you what all we'll be covering in this particular session, and then what all will be covered in the forthcoming lectures on new media. So as far as this particular lecture is concerned, since this is the first lecture, so I would like to give you a brief about what actually new media is, and then why do we call it a new media. This is also a very important thing, because we are talking about a new media, and especially in new media, the newness of the new media is something which is very subjective, which is debated. People are discussing about that, and there are questions that can we call a media a new media. So we'll be discussing about that also. Then how it is different from the traditional media. This is also very important when we are talking about new media, when we are saying that there is a one medium which is new. So how is it different from the traditional medium? Also, we'll be talking about certain case studies to illustrate the power of new media, because nowadays we say that the new media has a lot of potential, and we would like to illustrate that with some of the case studies wherein we can show that okay, this is what new media is, and these are the initiatives which were related to new media, and these are the differences which were made using a new medium. So this is what we are going to talk about. Also, we are going to talk about the new media landscape, because nowadays there are a lot of people who are connected with internet. There are a lot of people who are there on social media. So we also need to understand the media landscape, also transformed media landscape, and which happened due to the emergence of new media. And then we'll be talking about the one flagship program of Government of India, that is the Digital India, and how Digital India is giving fillip to this new medium and the evolution of this particular medium. So these are the topics which we'll be covering in this particular session. And to begin with, we'll talk about what exactly is new media. And as I said that there is no one definition. There are multiple viewpoints when it comes to explaining the new media. So, and there are a lot of people who had contested this newness of the new media. And there's this one researcher, Marshall, in 2005, he also contested this newness of new media. And in his analysis of new media, one of the interesting points that emerged was the delineated nature of media in its older forms, which means that earlier when we used to talk about the media, and we used to talk about the traditional media, we used to talk about the different mediums in isolation, which means that there was a print media, it had a different category, then there was an audio visual media, it had a different category. But when we are talking about this new media, we are talking about the convergence. So which means that the printed forms, images and sounds were totally different categories earlier. But in new media, for instance, the internet, web now constitute all these media forms. Web pages are usually a form of printed text. Contained in those web pages, however, are digital images and moving images. So printed media blends into other media. Visual media is not isolated, and its delivery system of television and film exhibition. So this confluence of media forms is what he described as the new in new media. So when we are talking about new media, it's not a one particular medium or technology which we are talking about. When we are talking about new media, we are talking about the packaging of information, the new way of offering information to our target audience. Another, when we talk about the explanation of new media, another very important thing is that the new media is explained as anything which is related to internet and the internet and the interplay between technology, images, and sound. So this is what Socha and Barbara Schmid describe new media as. They're saying that anything which has to do with the internet and the interplay of any other medium using that particular technology is termed as new media. Also, there is one very nice website which has a lot of resources related to new media and new media technology. Resources as in there are a lot of researches available there, a lot of reading materials available there. There are online courses also on this particular website. And in this website also they've explained new media in a very nice way, and they say that the definition of new media changes daily and will continue to do so, and new media evolves and morphs continuously. What it will be tomorrow, it virtually unpredictable for most of us, but we do know that it will continue to evolve in fast and furious ways. So this is what the new media is. We are talking about the technology, we are talking about internet as a technology, and we are saying that anything which is based on internet is considered as a new medium. Another viewpoint is wherein people are saying that it's not the technology as such, but the packaging of information and the way we are offering information to our target audience, which means that we are talking about the convergence, we are talking about the confluence, we are talking about bringing all other medium on a one particular platform. So why it is called new media, that because this particular medium is still evolving. When we talk about any other medium, all these mediums came around 100 years back, but as far as the new media is concerned, and when we are saying that it's based on internet, so the internet came 2 decades back. So still there are a lot of things are happening. The medium in itself is evolving. There are new applications which are coming out using internet as a base medium, and that's why we are saying that we are using this term as a new media for the internet based communication. So this is the reason why we call it a new media, even though there are a lot of debates on whether we should be calling it new media and to this particular subject or not, but still we are using this term because there is a lot of scope of evolution, there is a lot of scope of improvement also, and there is a lot of scope of new products coming out of this particular medium. Now coming on to how it is different from the traditional medium. Now if you look at the developments which has happened in the past, especially in the field of traditional media. Now there are 4 developments which had happened in the last 500 years which we can label as revolution as far as the mass media is concerned. The first thing was the invention of printing press, which made the dissemination of information, the mass dissemination of information possible. The second development was of the telephone, which means that one-on-one communication. First it was like sending messages through telegraph, text-based communication, and the second one was the one-on-one communication, which means the voice-based communication, and that was a telephone. The third the development which had happened, which we can label as a revolution, is the photography, cinema, which means that recording of images and the videos on some physical device and then playing it for the target audience, and this was also a mass communication form. And then the fourth one was harnessing electromagnetic waves, which means the invention of television and radio. Now, if we look at all these 4 medium, there is an asymmetry, which means that if there is one medium which was allowing to form group, it was not allowing to have one-on-one communication. So let's take example of newspaper. So when you write for the newspaper and when we disseminate information using newspaper, what we are doing is that's a mass distribution of information. So in that case, we cannot have one-on-one interaction. But when you take the example of telephone or telegraph, that made one-on-one interaction possible, but there was no option or no opportunity to have group communication. But now with the coming of the new media, and especially like when we are talking about the internet-based media, what is happening that we can have one-on-one communication also, and at the same time we can have group communication, which means that if you are there on Facebook or if you are there on Twitter, you know that you can interact with people individually, but at the same time, if you want to create groups or at the same time you want to mass broadcast that particular message, you are in a position to do that. And nowadays, the Facebook also offers, the live broadcast, which means that if you want to broadcast any event live to the large number of people, you are in a position to do that. So this is the quality of new media, which means that, one-to-one communication, and the second is the group communication, which is possible using this particular media. Another thing which is very important when we are talking about the new media is that it also allows you to coordinate, to collectivize people. And we have seen in the past that there have been number of instances wherein the people got together, they got together, they coordinated, and they launched number of things, and they made a lot of changes using the new medium. So this is what the positives of new media. Also, when you're talking about new media and when we are comparing it with the traditional media, if all other medium, for example, the print, audio, video, they are digitized, then the internet also becomes a carrier for these particular, the medium or the messages and the media formats. And also when you're talking about internet, we're also talking about one very important thing, that on internet, one particular medium is residing next to another medium. So you have an internet, but at the same time, you have a web page, you have a text, you also have an audio, you also have a video. So we're talking about the convergence, and we're talking about convergence. And another thing which is happening as far as the new media is concerned is that with each and every consumer added to this particular medium, we are also adding one producer. This has never happened before. When we talk about the traditional medium, people never had this power to create messages. They never got these opportunities to produce messages. But nowadays, anyone can produce message, anyone can live broadcast, even anyone can, record one particular video and they can share it on the YouTube. So this is like how we, discuss new media, how we describe new media, and this is how, it is actually, if we have to make a comparison between traditional media and new media, this is what the new media offers. Now, there are certain case studies. As I said that, the new media has a lot of power. It can bring about a lot of changes in the society, and there are a number of case studies, but for today's lecture, I have taken 3 case studies. One is Chennai Rains. Well, you can see a big thank you on the screen, but this thank you doesn't mean that the lecture is over. This thank you is by the Chennai ORG, which means that this is the website which was set up by the young techies when the Chennai floods happened, and this was a very nice website wherein they collected a lot of people, because at the time of the floods there were a lot of people who were in need of help. So this platform actually offered opportunities for the people who wanted to offer help to the needy people, and also like to the needy people if they wanted to avail certain services of these people. And this was set up by the youngsters, young techies, and there were a lot of doctors were there, their phone numbers were given, and the people, they were calling them and they were asking their help at that point of time. Another very important thing which had happened at the time of the Chennai floods, at the time of the crisis, most of the time we have seen that when it comes to rehabilitation program and when it comes to distribution of anything, so the things which comes to our mind is the distribution of food, water, clothes, because that is something which is our basic requirement, and that needs to be there at that point of time. But this time a very interesting thing happened, that the power banks were also distributed, which means that the people who had access to phone, they need to charge their phone. and at the time of the crisis, they want to be connected with, and they want to remain connected with their near and dear ones. So besides other basic amenities, power banks were also distributed to the people in Chennai. So this is one of the case study on how how these people have actually collected a lot of people, volunteers who wanted to help the community. Second is the similar case study, and we all know that the earthquake came in Nepal. And at that point of time, this website was set up. This is called Quake Map. And in this website also, one is that, okay, in whatever initiatives which are happening as far as the new media is concerned, young people are involved in that. And this particular website is also set up by the young techies from Nepal. And this is a beautiful representation of, what was happening in Nepal at that point of time. So what happens that at the time of the disaster and at the time of such crisis, many a times we are not able to know that, okay, what kind of relief is required at what place. So they actually mapped the entire thing. So they had places wherein the relief in terms of the food and shelter was required. So they mapped those areas in different colors. Then they have certain places wherein the massive destruction happened and the people were still buried under debris and they need to be taken out. So those areas were marked with a different color. So they created the entire map, and looking at that map, the people who were there in for the relief measures, they could make out that, okay, this particular area required this type of intervention. So this is another very important case study. Then another third case study is of Arab Spring. We all know about it. The lot of protest happened and the people were not happy with their respective governments. Egypt uprising is one such case study, if we talk about the Arab Spring. And this also happened because of the social media. And how this started, I'll just briefly tell you. There was this one boy, his name was Khalid Said. And what this boy did, he clicked some photographs of the police officials. Now, these police officials had confiscated some drugs from one particular place, and after that, they were sharing that drugs. They wanted to take home or they wanted to sell it, whatever. But this boy managed to, photograph them, took their video, and he uploaded those photographs on the web. Now, when he uploaded those photographs on the web, there were a lot of hue and cry, and police also came to know about this, that this particular boy uploaded this photograph. So what they did, they arrested that boy, and that boy was beaten to death. Now, when the people asked that what happened to that boy, the answer which came from the police was, they said that, he swallowed a pack of marijuana and he choked and he died. But meanwhile, there were a lot of people who uploaded his photograph also on the web. And one could easily see that it was not because, someone swallowed a pack of marijuana. The way this boy was beaten, one can easily make out that this boy was beaten to death by the police officials. So, when this thing happened, the lot of people who they were very unhappy. And then at that point of time, there was this one person whose name was Ben Ghanem. He started a Facebook page, and which is known as, and this page still exists, which is known as We Are All Khalid Said. And people said that, see, if this can happen to Khalid Said, it can happen to me, it can happen to my brother, it can happen to my father, it can happen to my sister. So this particular page was created with this thing that, if this is happening to one particular individual, it can happen to any one of us. So this page was set up, and after this page was set up, the people, they started communicating related to whatever happening in their country, in Egypt. The people were not happy earlier also, but at least when this page was created, they got a one particular platform wherein they started discussing, they started sharing their feeling, and then later on they also started planning for the protest using this particular page. So this page, the Facebook page, not only this page, but then there were a lot of videos also which were coming from the individuals girls and who were uploading those videos on the YouTube. So the whole thing is that the new media, the social media played a very important role, triggered the protest, and a lot of people, they came onto the street to protest against the government also. This boy who created this particular Facebook page, when Ghanim was also arrested, and he was kept in custody for around 10 to 15 days, and after he was released, and this is what he said in one of the interview, that when I was released and when I went out and saw thousands and lakhs of people, collected in, Tahrir Square, I was surprised that, a one Facebook page or the social media, presence can, collectivize people in such huge number. So, and after that, there were a lot of things happened, which means that, the internet was blocked there, but that was another thing, as said by when Ghanim in one of the interview, he said that was the best thing to happen at that point of time, because till now there was a group of people who were actually sharing their feeling using the Facebook page, but the moment internet was blocked, the people who were not very actively participating in the entire process, they also came out and joined the protest. So this is another case study, and a lot of people came out, and obviously like the power was given to military after this particular thing. So this is one of the case study which talks about the power of new media. So now we know that when we are talking about new media, it's not just one technology. This media has a lot of power. It has a power to bring people together. It has power to make changes in the society. Now we've understood, through certain case studies, that the importance of new media. Now let's talk about the digital landscape. Now let us see how the people are connected world over using this particular medium. So if we look at the impact of internet, it has been ordinary. We have seen some case studies. The 3 case studies are just like tip of the iceberg. I've taken 3. There are hundreds of such case studies, but it is just a beginning. And when I'm saying it is just a beginning, I'm saying because this has happened only when the 42% of the population is connected with the internet. Now, rest of the population till now is not connected. Imagine if the rest of the population is also connected with the internet, what would be the impact? So if we are talking about connecting the world, the total population of the world is 7.3 billion, and out of 7.3 billion, 3.1 billion are the internet users. And when we are talking about the internet penetration, we can say that the 42% of the world's population is connected with the internet. And around 42% is connected, and in 95 it was less than 1%, and the number of internet users has increased tenfold from 1999 to 2013. And the first billion was reached in 2005, the second billion reached in 2010, the third in 2014. Now this is how the internet grew over the years, which means like we are starting from 93 until 2014, and you can see the way the internet and the internet users are increasing in the world. If you compare the stats with any other traditional medium, the traditional medium has reached that saturation level, but here the growth is very fast, and you can see from this graph how the internet users are increasing year by year. This is another, the statistics. Here we are talking about the different countries. So if you look at the countries, and in terms of the internet user, China is the first country. Well, this particular slide says that the United States is second, but I have another slide to show you, and the India is the third one. Now, this figure I've taken in September 2015, and as per this particular figure, China has the maximum number of internet users, which means 704 million people are connected with the internet. India is second, which means that India has taken over US when it comes to the number of internet users, that is 324 million internet users, and then we have US with the 302 million people connected with the internet. But if you look at the penetration in India, it is just 27%, which means that out of total population, only 27% of the population is connected with the internet. If you do the region-wise analysis of the internet population and internet users, so we can see that in Asia we have maximum number of internet users, which means like out of the world population, 45% of the internet users are there in the Asian region. And then if you compare it with the North America, in North America you have 10% of the world's population. But if you compare it with the internet population, which means 87% of the people are connected in North America. And when it comes to Asia, only 34% are connected with the internet. And the reason why in Asia we have large number of internet users, despite the fact that the penetration is less, is because of the population. We have a huge population, and that's why the number of internet users are large. Now coming on to the world on web, we have seen that we have around 1.44 billion people on Facebook, we have 289 million on Twitter, then 300 Instagram, and then 347 on LinkedIn. And as far as the India is concerned, then we have around 1.24 billion population, and out of 1.24, as I mentioned, around 348 million people are on internet. And number of websites, we have reached 1 billion mark, and when we are saying 1 billion mark, out of this 75% of the websites are park domain, which means they are the active websites. And this is something which is happening in 1 second. We'll just have a glimpse of it, which means that in 1 second, this is what the people are doing on the web. You have 1 lakh videos which are viewed, you have more than 24 lakh emails which are sent, you have more than 10,000 tweets which are sent in 1 second. So this is the way communication which is happening nowadays, and that too in 1 second. So even if we are talking about 42% of population world over and 27% in India, still it's a huge population if we really want to make a difference. And this population is not only consuming information, they also have the opportunity to produce information. And with this Digital India campaign, which is a flagship program of Government of India, India is gearing itself for the next phase of digital growth. And we'll be talking about this Digital India campaign in the next lecture. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. In the previous lecture, we talked about the concept of new media, what new media is, how it is different from the traditional media. We also talked about, the power of new media, and we illustrated that with certain case studies. We also talked about, a little bit about, the digital landscape, which means like how many people are connected with the internet and various other social media platforms. And we also discussed in our previous lecture that the new the flagship program of Government of India, that is Digital India, how it is going to give fillip to the new media profession. And in this particular lecture, we'll be talking about the Digital India and what are the various initiatives which comes under Digital India, because each and every initiative in a way is going to help the new media discipline a lot, new media industry a lot. So we'll come on to this particular presentation on Digital India. Now, the Digital India program, it's a flagship program of Government of India with a vision to transform India into a digitally empowered society and a knowledge economy. Now, this Digital India has three key areas. The first one is the digital infrastructure as a core utility to every citizen. Second is governance and services on demand. And the third one is digital empowerment of citizens. And we'll be discussing all these points in detail. When we are talking about the digital infrastructure as a core utility to every citizen, what all is provided under this? One is the availability of high internet as a core utility for delivery of services to citizens. Second is cradle to grave digital identity that is unique, lifelong, online and authenticable to every citizen. Then mobile phone and bank account enabling citizen participation in digital and financial space. Easy access to common service center. We'll be discussing about these common service center, what exactly these common service centers are, how they function in this lecture only. And then the shareable private space on public cloud and safe and secure cyberspace. So this all comes under digital infrastructure as a core utility to every citizen. Second area is the governance and services on demand, which means seamlessly integrated services across department or jurisdiction. There should not be any silos. When we are talking about the departments, they should be integrated with each other. And then availability of services in real time from online and mobile platforms. Then all citizen entitlements to be portable and available on the cloud. And then digitally transformed services for improving ease of doing business, making financial transaction electronic and cashless, and leveraging geospatial information system. Third key area is digital empowerment of citizen, which is very, very important. Here we are talking about in the two areas we talked about, making digital infrastructure available, but here we are talking about the digital empowerment of citizen, which means that if the infrastructure is there, how people are going to use that, they should be digitally empowered to access those services or maybe like to contribute to those particular services. So in digital empowerment of citizens, we have universal digital literacy, universally accessible digital resources, availability of digital resources, services in the Indian languages. Here there's another very important point when we are talking about the Indian languages, and if you're talking about the digital divide, the major reason for the digital divide in India is the paucity of the content in the Indian languages. So the focus here under the Digital India program is to make the resources available in the Indian languages also. Also, a collaborative digital platform for participatory governance, and then citizens not required to physically submit government documents and certificates, and we know that the digital locker is there, which means that all the digitized version of the certificates will be there. So it's not that whenever you have to fill up a form and you have to submit all those certificates in the physical form. So how this Digital India will be realized? There are 9 pillars for this. The first one is broadband highways. Second is universal access to mobile connectivity. Third is public internet access program. Fourth is e-governance, reforming government through technology. Fifth is e-Kranti. These are mission mode projects of the different government. Sixth is information for all. Seventh is electronic manufacturing. Eighth is IT for jobs. Ninth is early harvest program. So these are the 9 pillars of Digital India, and we'll be talking about all these pillars in detail now. The first one is broadband highways, and as part of this, the broadband has to be made available for all, for the rural population as well for the urban population. And as part of this, 250,000 village panchayats would be covered under the National Optic Fiber Network by December 2016. And the Department of Telecommunication is the nodal department for this project. Another initiative under this is the National Information Infrastructure. NII would integrate the network and cloud infrastructure in the country to provide high-speed connectivity and cloud platform to various government departments up to the panchayat level. And these are the infrastructure components which are included. One is SWAN, that is the state wide area network. Then you have National Knowledge Commission, National Optical Fiber Network, and the Government User Network, and the Meghraj Cloud. And this particular project is being handled by Department of Information and Technology. Universal access to mobile and connectivity, this is very important, and especially like when we are talking about India, we are saying that go mobile first, which means that the lot of people who have access to mobile, and if they are accessing internet through mobile, they'll be able to access a lot of information. And that's why there are around 55,000 villages which are still not connected with the mobile, and the mobile coverage is not there. So as part of comprehensive development plan, first the northeast will be covered, and then it will be taken to the other villages which are still not covered with the mobile coverage. And the Department of Telecommunication will be the nodal department for this particular project. Now the Public Internet Access Program, this is a very interesting program, which means that even if we make the infrastructure available, even if we take the internet to the rural areas, how people will be able to access that particular internet. When we talk about the mobile, there is an issue of bandwidth, you won't be able to download, the big videos and all, but, there has to be some program wherein the people should be in a position to access internet and avail services using internet. So the Public Internet Access Program is for that, and in this there are two initiatives. One is CSC, that is called Common Service Center, and then the second one is the post offices, which are converted into multi-utility centers. Now CSCs, one CSC in each Gram Panchayat is projected, and CSCs would be made viable and multifunctional endpoints for delivery of government and business services. DIT will be the nodal organization for this. Similarly, there are a number of around 15,000 of post office. They are also being planned to convert into a multi-utility centers. Then the e-governance, this is the third pillar, e-governance, reforming government through technology. The first thing is that the form simplification and field reduction. Many a times when we fill up the form, this is something which we face. The filling up of form is very complex. There are a number of things which we have to fill which is not required. So this is the first thing which has been done, which means that the form should be made simple and user-friendly, and only minimum and necessary information should be collected. Then online application and tracking, which means that you can fill up the online application and you can track your application online. Then online repositories, I talked about the digital lockers. You have your documents there in the digital locker, and whenever you want to access those documents, and whichever office want to access those particular documents, they will be in a position to do so. And the integration of services and platforms, and the Aadhaar is a very good example for this, how the different services are being connected with the Aadhaar. Then we have eKranti as one of the pillars. This is the electronic delivery of services. These are all mission mode projects by the different departments, and you can see the colors. The pink color is of the projects which are at scoping stage. Then you have the projects which are in purple. They are in the design and development stage. Then some projects are under implementation, and the projects which are in the green, they are providing services. So the road transport, and then MCA, income tax, visa, passport, banking, pensions, central excise. These are the government and the platforms which are actually providing services, and the rest are in the process of the development, and some are providing services partially. So in this, like, you have technology for education. E-education is very important thing, and as part of this, all the schools need to be connected with the internet, and also there is there's an initiative going on offering online courses. MHRD is working on its own SWAM platform, which is an alternate to the edX and the Coursera, and hopefully, very soon, that SWAM platform will be ready, and the students of India will be able to access online courses on that particular platform. Then technology for health, this is also very important, which this will cover the online medical consultation, online medical records, online medicine supply, and pan-India exchange for the patient information. Then technology for farmers, which means that the farmers also need to know a lot of information, so there has to be some platform through which they can be provided that particular information. And then the technology for security. Then you have the technology for justice, which means the interoperable criminal justice system shall be strengthened. So you have e-courts, e-police, e-jails, e-prosecution, technology for financial inclusion. So you have the micro ATM programs for that. CSCs and post offices are also roped in for this particular thing. And the technology for the cyber security, which means the people in India, and especially in the rural areas, for the first time they're coming on to this particular medium. So there has to be a robust mechanism wherein we can talk about the cyber safety of our citizens. So in India, we already have Indian Computer Emergency Response Team, which is called CERTIN. It's a national nodal agency that creates awareness on security issue through dissemination of information. And then you have a Cyber Appellate Tribunal, CAT, a judiciary body set up under Section 40 of the IT Act to bring the offences under the judicial proceedings and severely deal with the cyber offences. Now coming on to the pillar of Digital India, and this is called the Information for All. Under Information for All, you have three major initiatives. One is the DataGov platform of our government, and the second one is the MyGov platform, and then we have the online messaging. Now, what this open data platform can do, a lot of departments in the different ministries, they are involved in researches, and they collect a lot of data. Now, that data has to be made available to the citizens, and especially like we are talking about new media, we are talking about writing for the traditional media also. So this open data platform can provide a lot of information to journalists, to teachers, to build up their research on. So what they can do is they can go to this particular website. I'll show you this website also. They can get the data from this particular website, and if they want to build upon that, they can do that. They want to make their own visualization, you can do that. And since it's an open platform, so there is no copyright issue. You can use as it is in your research projects. So open data platform is one very important aspect of the Information for All. Another very important aspect is MyGov platform. Many of us are on Facebook. The moment I ask any of my participants in any of the training program, and I ask them that how many of you are on Facebook or Twitter, so most of them, they'll raise their hands. And when I ask them how many of you are on MyGov platform, so I see very few hands, there. But MyGov is our own Indian, platform, social media platform, and especially this is a platform wherein the government is actually interacting with the citizen. That's a citizen engagement program, which means that you can interact with the citizen, you can have a lot of discussion on the policies and programs, and you can involve people in the discussion process. And there is an example for this. MHRD is coming up with the national policy on education. So when they decided to start work on national policy on education, what they did is that they had this particular thing on the MyGov platform, and they identified around 33 themes, both from school education and higher education, and they asked people to comment on those particular themes. So it's not only some people or some individuals or organizations who are actually formulating a policy. Here what we are doing is that we are engaging our citizen in the policy formulation. So that's a beautiful thing which has happened recently with this MyGov platform. Online messaging is also a very important thing. In online messaging, obviously, like there is a database of many thousands of government officials, so the messages are sent to these people on the different occasions and on the different events by the Government of India. This is the MyGov platform and it's an interface between the citizen and the government. This is the DataGov platform. There are a number of catalogs which are available here. There are a number of departments which are covered in this. So you can get data related to all these departments and all these ministries. And there are 584 visualizations also, which means that the data is not only in the Excel form. They have visualized that particular data, and you can pick up those visualizations and you can use it in your whatever work you are doing. So what one can do with DataGov, one is that you can search, and it has a search and discovery mechanism for instant access to various data sets of great importance. And the second one is the community engagement. As I said that, all these initiatives, and especially like Information for All, the main focus is with engaging with the public. Even in this DataGov website, you can create your own visualization. So that is something which you need to go to this particular website and explore for yourself, that how you can create your own visualization using the data sets which are already there, and also you can upload your own data sets. So you can search by search query there. Then there are catalogs also by the different ministry. You can filter it by the ministry and department or state department, sector, resource category. So this is the way of accessing information, filtering information there on the DataGov platform. And this I've already discussed. Then the search by visualization. This is something which is very important for the students of mass communication, for the teachers of mass communication, wherein many a times we need to have the information. So instead of creating something of your own, and when we create something of our own, obviously when we are talking about a very small sample size, and here we have a data with the visualization there on the DataGov website, so we can easily embed all these things into our research projects, into our research studies, and as journalists we can also write stories using this particular data. So this is the process of how to create visualization infographics on DataGov. You just have to put your CSV or Excel file there, and you have to proceed. Automatically it will create that Excel file into a beautiful visualization which you can use in your presentations also. So this was about Information for All. Now electronics manufacturing, this is another pillar of Digital India, and this pillar focuses on promoting electronics manufacturing in the country with the target of net zero imports by 2020. And this is what is being projected, that by 2020 there will be a zero import as far as the electronics manufacturing is concerned. Another pillar is IT for jobs, and this pillar focuses on providing training to the youth in the skills required for availing employment opportunities in IT and ITS, which is like IT-enabled sector. So here the IT training to people in smaller towns and villages are given. The target of this component is to train 1 crore students from smaller towns and villages for IT sector jobs for over 5 years. And the Department of Electronics and Technology is handling this particular thing, and they are the nodal department for this particular thing. Early harvest program, the last pillar, the 9th pillar of Digital India. This consists of those projects which are to be implemented within short timeline. This is one of the website which has been created, Khoya Paya, and helping to find missing children, and that was the part of early harvest program. So any project with the short timeline falls into this particular program. This had the IT platform for messages. Mass messaging application was also developed by DIT under this, and there are a lot of people who are covered under this. 1.36 crore mobiles and 22 lakh email are part of the database, but they're still building upon this particular database. Government greetings to be e-greetings, which is also a part of this early harvest program, which means that the government of India will send greetings on the different occasion to the citizen of India. And this is a very interesting platform because till now, whenever the greetings were sent, it was designed by someone in the department or in the ministry. And here what is happening is that they are crowdsourcing this also, which means that the people, the citizen, they are sending, designing a lot of greeting cards, and they are uploading that particular thing on MyGov websites, and the different departments are using the greetings which are designed by the citizen of India, and they are sending it to the citizens. So this is a very interesting thing. Till now, it's the advertising agency and the creative people and the graphic designers. They were the one who were actually, controlling the entire thing, especially like when it came to designing of, the logos and the greeting cards and like this. But now the people can also contribute to it, and it's a very nice feeling for a citizen to see his or her greeting card sent by a minister to, the fellow citizens. So this is another thing which has happened. Biometric attendance is another thing, and it will cover all the central government offices in Delhi to begin with, and over 40,000 government employees from 150 organizations have already registered on the common biometric attendance portal. So this is also a part of early harvest program. Wi-Fi in all the universities, so all the universities which are on National Knowledge Network shall be covered under this scheme, and Ministry of Human Resource Development is the nodal ministry for implementing this particular scheme. Then the secure email within the government, that's the part of the early harvest program, which means that, the emails which we are sending, to the different people, and especially when it is sent by a government official or a government organization, then it has to be secure. So the work is on this, and the people have, the government specific email IDs. Then standardized is the government email design. Public Wi-Fi spots and the school books to be e-books. These are the other initiatives. As far as the school books to be e-books is concerned, MHRD has launched their own app which is called PG Pathshala. So all the textbooks which were developed by NCERT is available on not PG Pathshala, sorry, e-Pathshala. So they are available on this particular app, and the students can download these textbooks and they can read those particular textbooks online also. This is a very nice initiative because there have been cases wherein the students do not have access to the textbook, and many a times they have to wait for months to receive those particular textbooks for the new session. But now with this particular application, they can always access those textbook online, and they can download that. So that's a very nice initiative which MHRD has taken. Then SMS-based weather information disaster alerts. This is another initiative. It's a SMS-based weather information and disaster alert, and this would be provided. And DIT's mobile Seva platform has been made available for this purpose. And Ministry of Earth Sciences, Ministry of Home Affairs, National Disaster Management Authority would be the nodal organization for implementing this particular scheme. And then, we've just seen this portal, which is called Khoya Paya. So we have seen the homepage of this particular portal, but this is what this portal is all about. This would facilitate real-time information gathering and sharing on the lost and found children, and would go a long way to check crime and improve timely response. And the portal is being designed with the following features: enhance citizen participation through mobile apps. So like if they have certain information, they can always upload that particular information. Then mobile SMS alert for police, better navigation plans for citizens, facility to integrate child services, and using social media to popularize the system. And DIT and the Department of Women and Child Development are the nodal department for this particular project. and this is the homepage of National Tracking System for Missing and Vulnerable Children. As you can see, you can search for the missing children there. You can, interact with the police here. Then you can inform the authority if you have some information. You can inform the police. You can have the statistics, and the day-wise statistics is also available here. And you can upload the photographs also. So this is a very nice the platform which has been built, and this is called Koyapaya, and it's a national tracking system for missing and vulnerable children. So you've just seen these are the initiatives which are taking place in India, as far as the new media is concerned. So when we are talking about the new media, it's not only using internet to pass on information, and especially it is not only used in the field of media only, that okay fine, you have a newspaper, let's have the online version of the newspaper, or if you have a channel, let's have the online version of the channel. But at the same time, there are a number of initiatives which are happening. The government wants to take internet to the rural areas, the remotest of the village, and the efforts are on to achieve this, and many of the things have already been achieved. But since this is a new technology, and it takes a lot of time to make a difference. And nowadays when we talk about the new media, and especially the online journalism, one is that yes, we are talking about the new medium and how to package information for that particular medium, but also as a journalist, also as a teachers, also as a media teachers, we need to know what is happening in our country. And the Digital India program is something which is going on with a full speed, and a lot of initiatives are being taken as part of this particular program. So as a teacher and student of mass communication, we need to know each and every part of this particular program, and we need to know what are the 9 pillars. We can always write stories on those 9 pillars. We can always write positive stories on this particular thing. Now I have one small little video for you, and that will recap the Digital India flagship program for you, and let's watch that particular video. I hope you liked the video, and it was actually a recap of whatever we have discussed till now, and it talked about the 9 pillars of Digital India. So thank you very much.
With this note, we would like to thank our guest, Dr. Anubhuti Yadav, for giving a deep insight into the topic, Introduction to New Media. And we believe that you might have liked this lecture. Dear friends, we would suggest that if you would give your feedback for this particular lecture, then we would think of giving you maximum knowledge. If you have any kind of queries, or if you want to have a session on any of the topics under the series New Media, then definitely we would plan out for you the lecture, and you can mail us at info.cc@nic.in. Very soon this lecture is going to be uploaded on YouTube for you for your easy accessibility. So keep watching us and keep giving your feedback. We would be meeting again tomorrow and would be conducting another session under the series New Media with Dr. Anubhuti Yadav. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so very much for the session. Thank you, dear friends.